So, you came earlier today, you saw me watching Star Wars Lego sets.
Hold up. You saw me when I came?
Oh yes, I was under the bed. You didn't even notice me. Anyways, as I was saying...
We always have to start the videos with something degenerate.
Of course.
But yeah, sorry.
That's the spice of life. No, I was saying, I was looking at Star Wars Lego sets, and yeah, as nerd shit, of course, nerd shit.
Wait.
Because I'm...
Lego set?
Yes. You're very pretty as a block. And got me thinking, like, how actually big of a part sci-fi is in my life, and how much I appreciate it as a genre, as a literary genre, as entertainment, and generally the existence of sci-fi. I think it's like one of the most intriguing genres that came to be in the late 20th, late.
Yeah,
late. No, not late 20th. Late 19th. Because there's a lot of cool sci-fi in the late 19th, early 20th century. That basically what it did, it inspired. And I think that's why I like it so much as a genre, be it literary or art form or what have you. Classify it however you will. At its core, it's there to inspire. There to drive us. There to give us examples of, okay, this is what could be. And I once had an interesting discussion with Vangel, our statistics professor, that basically centered around how sci-fi in the past was inspirational. Well, nowadays sci-fi usually tends to be melancholic in some aspect. Either it portrays a dystopian future, or it portrays an authoritarian future, or it portrays something negative in the future. And the idea he had is that this is basically our subconscious predicting how we imagine our future to be. I believe the best example of this is the Star Trek and Star Wars parallel.
Okay.
Star Trek came earlier than Star Wars in the 60s, yeah? And generally as an, as a storyline, it's exceedingly positive. It's hopeful. It shows what humanity could be in the future with a lot of work. Star Wars, which came a few years after that, had a different shift. And progressively, as the movies released, it definitely changed the tone. So much so that, moving back to Star Trek, around the late 90s, in the 2000s, Star Trek lost its tone. It lost what made it good. And that's really apparent in the scenery in the latest Star Trek series, movies, what have you. It's dark. It's melancholic. It's senseless. Even the characters and the interactions are unreasonable. And that's just a subconscious representation of how we imagine our future to be. People in the 60s were hopeful about the future. It was a great time to be. Seriously, the 60s was a great time to be, especially in the West.
I mean, there's a reason why they're called the boom generation.
Yeah. After that, it's just not like that. And nowadays, sci-fi, as I said, is mostly melancholic. Like, what's the biggest sci-fi universe nowadays? Warhammer. It technically is. Star Wars as well. What else? Lately, Cyberpunk is getting quite popular. None of those worlds have what I would say traditionally happy worlds. There's constant conflict, there's constant strife, and generally people aren't hopeful. And that's why I think sci-fi is so interesting as a genre to me. Because it portrays our subconscious really well. Better than any other genre. Even better than poetry, I'd say. Controversial, I know.
I wouldn't agree that much. I wouldn't agree that much.
I want to hear your opinion then.
But you know that I'm more of a fantasy fan rather than sci-fi fan. I'm not sure.
The duality of man.
Right? But I'm not sure if you would consider Fallout into sci-fi.
Yeah.
Which I do. I do.
It is.
Like I said, most sci-fi nowadays is dystopian.
Yeah.
And you know that one of my favorite games that's not strategy is the Fallout franchise. And
Nuclear Punk was the genre called, right?
which one? There's a lot.
No, like specifically Fallout because it's set in the nuclear era.
Oh, yeah.
Basically.
I mean, that's a new term, so.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
close enough. Yeah. Nuclear Punk is technically sci-fi. Go on.
What was it? Oh, yeah. Like you said, it's dystopian, but.
On Fallout, remind me to show you the animations later.
Okay. What kind of animations?
There's this one guy on YouTube that makes amazing Fallout animations. They're like better than movie quality.
I'll link them
I
in
think
the.
you'll like them.
I'll link
Yeah.
them in the description. I know I say that a lot of times and I don't do it, but this time I'll do it. But what I was trying to say is, even though it's dystopian, it's not far away from what might actually happen. Like Cyberpunk, I'm not sure if that's gonna happen, but Fallout, there's a huge chance. Well, not like the vaults and everything. That maybe it's happening. We don't know. We don't fucking know. But the nuclear war is a huge possibility, and it has been since the Cold War, which is almost 100 years. It's like what, 80 years now?
Yeah.
Almost.
Give or take.
Almost. Like 70 some years. But anyway, it's fascinating to me how most of the time when you have a sci-fi universe, you don't only focus on the bad things. That's the beauty of it, at least to me. Like, yes, it's a dystopian world, but you have this sense of justice that you have to, if it's a video game, you have to fulfill, or if it's a movie, show, whatever, that the main protagonist is trying to achieve. He's trying, well, not he, but they are trying to restore humanity, like humanity's morals. You mentioned Star Wars, and let's be honest, the names most of the time don't make sense unless you pay attention to what's actually happening. Like, everyone thinks that the names for the first 3 movies, 4, 5, 6, right? Yeah. 4, 5, 6, Star Wars.
Yeah. Now because of the sequels.
Yeah. No. The originals.
Yeah, the
4, 5,
original
6.
trilogy,
Yeah.
the prequels, and the sequels.
Oh, yeah, no.
That's what they
I'm
call
talking
them.
about 4, 5, 6, the
Yeah,
original
the
movies.
originals, yeah.
Like, everyone thinks that the whole point of the movies is for Luke to become the Jedi, right? The best Jedi ever.
Yeah.
But the whole point of the movie is Darth Vader regaining his humanity.
Yeah, restoring balance to the Force.
Right? Like, it is gruesome, it is dark, it is dystopian, but there's always that sense that we can change the bad times to at least be a little less bad, you know?
No.
And as I mentioned, Fallout, recently, I don't know why I've been watching videos about the lore again.
Because it's fun.
Yeah.
You got good lore.
And to me, it makes a lot of sense that everything that's happening in there, you have factions that already exist in society, not on that level, but they already exist. Like, you have the cult leaders, Caesar, you have the super tight like community that won't budge for anything, and we
You
are
have the super community, you have the master, you have everything, depending on the era.
like Brotherhood of Steel.
Yeah. Enclave.
Like, it's just like what I want to say. Like, Brotherhood of Steel is the tight community that won't let anyone in, and we're in the right, but some of their actions are justified.
Puritans, basically.
Railroads are the people who are like, oh, we need everyone to be free, everyone equal, blah blah blah. Like, it's a good representation of how the world is right now. If you pump it to like 11, you know, and to me that's just beautiful. Again, I prefer fantasy, but can't talk on sci-fi.
What I was saying earlier about the demeanor of the sci-fi universe is, it's really important to look at it not from the plot point perspective, but from I'm gonna use a philosophical term, but I hate this. A Weltgeist perspective, from world spirit. Because what's the world spirit in Star Trek, and what's the world spirit in Star Wars, and how they handle conflict? Because both series have conflict. What happens in Star Trek? In Star Trek, you take the position of the Federation, which are the protagonists. What are the Federation? The Federation are a federation of multiple species who overcome their negative traits. And that's especially prominent in most of the what's it called? The New Generation with Picard. What was the series called?
Ah.
You know, the one with
Yeah,
Picard.
I know. You know, I don't pay any much attention to
What I'm
Star
saying
Trek
is,
anymore.
that's an exceptionally big point that the series is trying to make. That humans have their flaws for sure, but we're overcoming them. We're constantly striving to overcome them. And who are they usually in conflict with? With the Klingons, who are faulted to the core. With what was the other race called? The stealth birds.
Yeah, fuck.
You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Who are also faulty. In there, in Star Trek, the conflict is, okay, we're the people who, we understand we have a bad past, but we overcome this. And we're faced with people who are currently in their bad, in a state of existence, whatever, and they're spiritually the bad, what have you.
I mean, let's be honest.
Pardon, let me finish.
Sorry.
But what's going on in Star Trek, and Star Wars, which comes only a few years afterwards? What's the world spirit? I'm going to start chronologically, instead of based on the Star Wars lore, not based on how the movies were released.
Yeah.
In the prequels, what was the main point? The Republic is flawed. It's deeply flawed. That's why it had to fall.
Yeah.
In the original trilogy, what's the point? The Empire is flawed. Yes, the rebellion is looking to establish a new republic, but it's flawed. And also, in the prequels now, the New Republic is flawed again.
Even the sequels.
Yeah, the sequels, yeah, pardon. The New Republic is flawed again. So that's why the Order is trying to destroy it. Constantly, the general world spirit of Star Wars is that the universe is flawed.
Yeah.
Yes, there's some order in it, in the chaos, and chaos in the order, but generally it's flawed. They never come to a stage where they accept that. Because that's a big, that's why they need the harmony between the Jedi and the Sith. They'll never accept that truly. The only notion that might happen is in the new Ahsoka series with Balin Scroll, who actively said in the series so far, he's trying to find something more, a balance, not the only harmony between Jedi and Sith as it was.
Yeah. I mean,
it's interesting to see how it developed.
This
is crucial.
Like what I wanted to add earlier is, to me, Star Trek, and I'm sure to almost anyone who's at least knowledgeable, like if you've seen one minute of the show, or the series, whatever, Star Trek is more political. Like, they resolve most of their problems in a political way.
It's social.
Yeah.
I disagree. It's social.
Yeah, still. And Star Wars is just London in space.
Basically.
It's just London in space.
Funnily enough, it's actually described as a space opera.
Yeah.
Technically it is. But yeah, no. Like, even though I don't watch that much Star Trek, the little amount of Star Trek I've watched has left such a big impression on me. Like, to this day, one of the most impressionable moments in Star Trek is the series with Picard. In one episode, you know Mr. Data, right?
Mm.
Basically, Mr. Data is an anthropomorphic robot who's designed to be like the perfect human, you know, superhuman strength, superhuman computation on account of his, super computer in his mind. And one episode, he makes a mistake, even though all his calculations were correct. And what happens? He becomes depressed. He thinks that by making this mistake, it's going against his very existence because he was made to be perfect.
Yeah.
And what did Picard tell him? Sometimes in life, you can do everything right and you still lose.
Yep.
That's not a mistake.
Yep.
That's just life. That's one of the most significant interactions in TV history. I think everybody should hear that exchange at least once in their life.
I mean, to me, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of sci-fi, but the best sci-fi show, and I've stated this before a hundred of times, I'll mention it a million times more, I hate anime. I fucking hate anime. But one of the best sci-fi fantasy show for me is Code Geass, which shows the perfect mixture between what's actually happening in imperialism and it has the perfect balance of sci-fi in it, where the protagonist turns into the antagonist, turns into the protagonist, blah blah blah. Because that's life. You can't always be the good guy.
Yeah.
You can't be the good guy all the time. And I don't know. I have a lot of respect for sci-fi, don't get me wrong, I really do. But it's just never been my cup of tea.
Fair. What do you guys think?
Well, let us know in the comments below. And as always, we'll see you next time. Peace.